Thank you for joining us for another episode of Exposing Scientology, where we reveal what really goes on inside this business masquerading as a church. Hey there, everyone. Here I am back, and here is my good friend Lily. Oh, wrong way around there.
There we go.
And Claire. Hi, Lily.
Hi, Mikey. Hi, Claire Bear.
Hi, Lily. Hi, Mikey. So good to see you both. I love you both.
Love you, honey. Love you. Yes, it's nice. Mikey, you're feeling better because you've been out of commission because you had this awful flu that takes like 3 months to recover from.
It was crazy, Leah.
Yeah.
Well, me and Christy and Jack and Shane all got the flu, and I guess because of my sort of weakened immune system, I ended up having to go back to hospital. And so I was there all last week. We had great plans. We were going to get started again in the new year, had great plans, and then everything sort of went haywire. But I'm back and happily in action again. I went to my oncologist today for the results of my latest PET scan, and it is staying the same as it was last time, which is good. You know, no new signs of any cancer, although, you know, I still have cancer and there's still cancer cells in the fluid that is in my lungs and that sort of stuff, but no new bright spots, no tumors, nothing additional, just keep going, doing what we're doing. And so that was good news.
Yes, that's great news. And thank you to everyone for your prayers and to God.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing, Mike. I mean,
it is. Thank goodness. My gosh.
It is
what
amazing.
A battle.
Yeah, I know. Because Claire knows, because Claire happened to be here sort of at the lowest moment of my cancer journey here, and it wasn't very pleasant. It was pretty grim at that point, and it's amazing what this drug has done, and the change that it has effectuated is quite astonishing. And like you said, Leah, the support and love and concern and well wishes from people have a huge impact on how I'm doing.
Of course. It's, you know, I don't think people understand how much they pick us up and have supported us, just even professionally, but personally, what you all do for all of us we can't thank you enough.
Yes.
And I'm a professional who hasn't turned off my phone.
We love you for that, Lily.
Okay. One other piece of news, just because I just got a text from Mark Bunker saying that he was endorsed by the Clearwater Police Department for his election in March, which is amazing news.
That is amazing news, especially because of what the repercussions of such an endorsement will turn out from Scientology. And so that's a big change for the Clearwater Police Department, who's been allied to Scientology for decades. I mean, Mike, there was video of when you were part of OSA and harassing the Mark Bunkers of the world on behalf of Scientology. And some of those officers that were there that you were, you know, getting on your side, right, for people to just express their First Amendment rights, are, you know, now sergeants and lieutenants. Because they were there to try to trespass us, Mike, how many years later, when we went to a public park in Clearwater, downtown Clearwater.
With Mark
Well,
Bunker too, right?
theoretical,
Yes,
a theoretical
Yeah.
public park.
Yes.
They
Well,
claim
it's
it's a
always
publicly park
correct.
unless
Anything that
you're the
Scientology says that's decent and for the public benefit is always in theory.
That's right.
Um,
exactly.
yes, yeah, truth.
Yes.
Anyway, that is amazing, and I hope Mark Bunker continues to fight. Um, Scientology is taking over downtown Clearwater like they have always done, which is their intention to do that with cities across America. I mean, it is a ghost town down there. I've often said that we should all start a business to generate some real business down there. It's such a lovely downtown. I mean, it's very different from LA. Like when people come to LA and they're like, we're going, we should go downtown. I'm like, it's not what you think it is. It's not, you don't want to, there's nothing down there that but it's anyway, that's a conversation for another time, but I wish him all the best, and he deserves everyone's support who could vote, who lives there.
Absolutely. I mean, he is the sort of bulwark that stands against the complete and utter domination of the city government by Scientology.
Yeah.
He's the one that stands up and says, wait a minute, I've
Yeah.
got something to say here. And when everybody
Yeah.
else is too chicken or cowed or
Or
whatever the
allied,
reasoning,
or allied. Yeah. Because
exactly.
there was some video of a man who is allied to Scientology, and it was the purpose of him to speak up and out against Mark. The one person was, of course, an ally to Scientology. You don't have to be a Scientologist or a former Scientologist or a current Scientologist to be allied to Scientology for your own vested interests.
Right.
And this guy stood up and talked all kinds of bullshit about Mark Bunker for Scientology. Now, if it's a tax-paying citizen of Clearwater and they have a gripe with Mark Bunker, yeah, absolutely. Like no one is perfect, and especially people on councils and city councils and boards are going to make mistakes, and we try to make those right. You try to make those right. But this was a man planted there to do Scientology's bullshit bidding. And Mark Bunker doesn't just talk about Scientology. His business is not all Scientology. He is a resident of Clearwater. What affects them affects him. And so it's just because you hear about it, because we're talking about it in regards to Scientology, but he does other work for the city of Clearwater, for the council.
A lot.
Yeah, I'm not going to, I don't want to make this a campaign because, we got other things to talk about. We've done enough loving on Mark Bunker.
Yes.
All right. Let's end the loving on Mark Bunker. McLovin. Okay. We have a topic today, which is sort of odd. And it popped up in a conversation that Claire and I were having that I had no idea about until Claire mentioned something to me and I mentioned something to her, and we went, what? Really? And it concerns Jim Carrey. And the actor Jim Carrey. And for whatever reason, he became a target for Scientology, trying to recruit him. And I have yet to figure out exactly why, Lily. I assume it was simply because he was a very big name at the time. This was in the early 2000s. He had done a lot of movies that were very successful. But I'm not exactly sure why Jim Carrey.
Okay, well, I know. Okay, so Jenny McCarthy was dating Jim Carrey.
Yes.
And Jenny and I were friends at the time, and we still are. I'm not saying we were. I didn't want to make that impression. But meaning back then, meaning we were all at Tom Cruise and Katie's wedding, and Jim Carrey was there with Jenny McCarthy.
That's right. In fact,
So, and then he was dating.
I didn't know that. This is
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is at the wedding or at this subsequent party that we'll talk about. But that's Jim Carrey and Jenny McCarthy when they were a pair.
Yeah, and I know that he also dated a Scientologist.
Subsequently, yeah.
Yes,
And
that's
we
right.
will talk about that. And
and so yeah, go.
No, I was just going to say, and she was very much a Scientologist. I've got a picture of her in the Purif, and she ended up dying, and it was a very tragic sort of scenario. But that all happened after what Claire and I experienced,
Okay.
and it
Well, to back up before you guys start to talk about
Yeah.
what you guys know, because I don't know this, but celebrity is a big thing in Scientology. We know that, right? There's not many celebrities in Scientology, as they have done a great PR job of making people believe that. But when I go, how many Scientologists are celebrities? How many? I mean, in comparison to who are SAG members, who are actual like working in the business, like how, like if you it wouldn't even measure up, like it wouldn't even register on a scale because
Yes.
Right.
it's a very
And
small amount,
how many new ones in the last 20 years?
like zero.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
zero.
So there's many L. Ron Hubbard policies on VIPs and the entourages of the celebrity. It's a very insidious in that it's very crafted. And L. Ron Hubbard even wrote a policy called Project Celebrity, and he had like names like Frank Sinatra and what's Frank
Walt
Sinatra?
Disney.
Walt Disney.
It
Yeah.
was a
And
whole slew.
yes, and I've already told the story of when Tom Cruise called us all in for this big meeting at Citizens Commission on Human Rights on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, California, where he demanded names of people, of celebrities, or entourages of celebrities, and wanted us to start getting our shit together, and then made us read Keeping Scientology Working, which is a staple policy in Scientology. Everybody has to read it at least 1,000 times in their Scientology career. And you have to look up every word you don't understand. And he had us read that. And basically, he was reprimanding us like, where are your effing celebrities? Where are the people that you're bringing in? And so a celebrity is a big deal. And the wedding of the century that Jessica Feshbach was calling it, and Celebrity Center Sea Org members were calling it, was to show the world that Tom Cruise, after his debacle, PR nightmare of jumping on the couch and calling Matt Lauer glib when it came to psychotropic drugs and speaking about things he knew nothing about, postpartum depression, because Tom knows everything about everything. This wedding was to parade out the top of their field. So the biggest directors, the biggest producers, the biggest singers, the biggest actors, the biggest actresses. So this was a big show to show the world that Tom is still accepted in the entertainment industry.
Yes, completely.
So that's why Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's why they asked me to invite Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony. And I was like, shouldn't you do that? Because it's your wedding. But the order was given, invite them. And I was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do it. So that's why. Just to answer that. Okay.
Yes.
And you're right, by the way. Totally weird for you to have to invite them to somebody else's wedding. Like, what in the world?
Like, it's like, they always were talking about like Leah needs to get her manners in. I was like, get your fucking manners in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, send an invite. You send a proper invite. Anyway.
Everything that you everything that Scientology touches
Mhm.
turns weird.
Always.
It just is. It's
Yeah.
always weird. And
Yeah.
it's even what's so funny about it is you don't even realize sometimes how weird some of the stuff is until like 10 years later. And you
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
what the hell was that about? Oh my
Yeah,
God,
like,
that is so
we were
bizarre.
there.
But it was
we were
just
there,
normal.
Yeah, it seemed normal at the time, but even like when things were not normal, like when I was complaining about him jumping on a couch and being, bad public relations for Scientology, I was the crazy one. I was the
Right.
one that needed to get a security check and be interrogated. When I was saying you were lying, Mike, on Dateline or some show you had done, I was like, Mike Rinder is a senior executive of the Church of Science. And he said there's no such thing as disconnect. Do you remember that, Mike?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
many
And they were like,
times, Leah.
what overts do you have? What have you done to Mike Rinder? I'm like, I don't even know this fucking guy. Like, how am I going to commit an overt a transgression against a guy I don't even know? He's lying.
Come on, Leah. Be nice.
And then I was sex checked. I was sex checked. Like, have you ever lied? I
Serves
was
you
like,
right.
what? Have I
Yeah.
ever lied like as a kid? Are you serious? Like, anyway, okay. And being a Scientologist, like, have you ever lied? We're Scientologists. Of course we lied. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't be a Scientologist and not lie.
Right.
Exactly. That's why we're here today, is because we
Yeah.
know they lie all the time. I know, but back to the couch thing, by the way, it was
Yeah.
ironic to me. I didn't remember that you had specifically brought that up as bad PR. And when
Yeah.
we moved to Colorado, the great part about Colorado was the only thing most people here had ever heard about Scientology at the time is, oh, that's that crazy thing with Tom Cruise jumping on a couch.
Jumping on a couch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Talking
know.
about postpartum depression, calling Matt Lauer a glib. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Good guy.
Okay.
Such a good.
So
All
back
right.
to the
So
subject
back
at
to
hand.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah. And this touches upon another subject that's like really important in the world of Scientology, which is psychiatry and psychology. And what happened was I didn't even know how it came up, but Claire and I were talking, and in around 2003, 2004, Claire was tasked by Shelley Miscavige to investigate and come up with a solution to, quote, illegal PCs.
What does that mean?
Who were people under psychiatric care or drugs or whatever. And I'm going to show the actual reference because there is a reference from L. Ron Hubbard, and we'll go through it. And I said, Claire, you were doing that? Do you know that I was in the hole, and my assignment from David Miscavige was to figure out how to solve this problem of all of the, quote, illegal PCs that would...
So I just want to explain. So you guys, what they're talking about is if you have been under a psychiatrist care on psychotropic drugs, things that you need for your mental health, you are not allowed to get Scientology auditing, which is with the meter, their lie detector, and then you hold 2 cans and you're stuck in a room and all that. Okay. So you're not allowed to get that precious service if you've been under the care of a psychologist, psychiatrist, right? Am I wrong?
Ever.
Yes.
No, ever. Like you're banned.
Illegal pre-clear. You're not allowed
Yes.
to receive. You can do courses in Scientology, but you're not allowed to get this auditing. So Shelley Miscavige and David Miscavige tasked you guys with how do we get around this, because a lot of celebrities we're finding were and are under the care of a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and they want to see how they can get around it.
Yes, to make exceptions for celebrities, when no such exceptions are made for anybody else in the world of Scientology under any circumstances.
Right.
And at the time, Leah, I had no idea that this had anything to do with a specific person.
Got it.
I was just ordered, you got to solve this because there's too many of these. And then when
Okay,
Claire
and
said
how
to
do
me,
you go about that?
well, wait, we'll get
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
When Claire said to me, well, that's weird because I was told by Shelley that I had to solve this so that Jim Carrey could get on the Purif. And I went,
down.
oh,
To sit in the sauna?
the purification
Yes.
program.
Okay. Okay.
Like essentially,
So-
Shelley wanted to find a scenario where somebody had started the Purif even while on some kind of,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
With the end result being by the end of the Purif that they would no longer be on it.
So they would be taken off of the drugs that were prescribed to them by a professional in the
Yes.
field.
Right.
Right. Because
Right.
that's how they were. That's what they were doing in the New York Detox, the Tom Cruise front group that I supported at the time. These men and women, first responders, were getting off of the drugs that they desperately needed. I'm not saying people don't get over prescribed. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying people don't overdo it. Just saying. So they were trying to find a loophole.
That's right.
And when I ask you, because people don't know, what does that mean that you're tasked with it? Does that mean now, Mike, you try to find L. Ron Hubbard policies that would override the illegal PC policy?
Yes, completely.
Yes.
That's so in my testimony in the Danny Masterson trial, I talked about the source information retrieval system called SIR, which is a computerized system that only management members of the C organization have access to. And in that computerized system, there are Mike? Millions and millions of words of Hubbard that are not accessible to the general public. And so there are examples in there of, auditing that Hubbard did. I mean, endless scenarios. So it would literally be like, I spent probably 40 hours searching every reference, searching this computerized system for examples that could be used to justify discarding the illegal PC policy.
Okay,
And
here we go.
I did find some. Yes,
Oh, you did. Okay,
I did.
I want to
Okay.
show everybody what
Yeah.
what Hubbard actually says, because this stuff is really, really out there. And I've just excerpted because it's a fairly long Hubbard bulletin, red on white thing. But here we go. Illegal PCs, acceptance of high crime bulletin. It shall be a committee of evidence offense for a case supervisor or auditor to CS or accept for processing and process any PC, and then 1, 2, who has an extensive psychiatric history, which includes heavy drugs or shocks of various kinds, or so-called psychiatric brain operations or institutionalization. Now, that seems fairly cut and dried.
Yeah.
Like this is talking about
This is what
heavy
people were doing,
drugs
electric shock and lobotomies
Right.
and shit. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Right. But then
Yeah.
it goes on and says, by institutional history is meant having knowingly or unknowingly given treatment as described in 2 above in a public or private institution for the insane, a psychiatric ward in a hospital, a psychiatrist's, psychologist's, or other mental practitioner's clinic or office or a mental health center.
What the
So
fuck? I mean, that's we're all
Now
out.
that's exactly right, Leah. That was
Yeah,
the problem. It's
Right.
basically, if you've ever been to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a mental health center, you
Mhm.
qualify as, quote, having an institutional history, and therefore you're not eligible for any Scientology services.
Mhm.
It goes on with a little bit more. Illegal PCs are those cases described in the 3 categories listed above. It is not that such cases cannot, in many instances, be handled. It is that neither Scientology nor the org, but doctors and psychiatrists have brought about the condition, and such conditions are outside the zone of responsibility of the org. Any promise made by any org to such a person or his relatives is not binding upon an organization or its staff, and such promises are also a common offense.
Which is like a court-martial, Scientology
Right.
court-martial.
Yes.
Right. So here we
Okay.
go. Here's Mr. Hubbard talking in his usual style about psychiatry. Doctors are too often careless and incompetent. Psychiatrists are simply outright murderers. The solution is not to pick up their pieces for them, but to demand medical doctors become competent and to abolish psychiatry and psychiatrists, as well as psychologists and other infamous Nazi criminal outgrowths.
Wow.
Society and police agencies should deal with such offenses. It is not up to Scientologists to salvage the wreckage created by these professions, but to prevent it from happening in the first place by reforming a degraded society. Until such time as doctors have become fully competent and psychiatry and psychology have been recognized for what they are and abolished, case supervisors and auditors are actionable for surrendering their rights and handling such. It is not that they cannot, they must not. L. Ron Hubbard.
Right.
And then there is an additional reference called Illegal PC's Acceptance of Addition regarding the purification rundown. And this basically says everything that it says about illegal PCs not being qualified for auditing also applies to the purification program. You may not accept anybody who has had any involvement in psychiatry, psychology, mental health, or whatever for the purification program or any auditing. So here is what I did, Leah. Like Claire, I went through every single thing that L. Ron Hubbard had ever written about this subject of what qualifies as an illegal PC. And there's not a whole lot of wiggle room in what he says in those references.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, these people, steer clear of them. We never going to have anything to do with them until psychiatry and psychology are abolished. So I took a different approach and started doing this incredibly in-depth analysis of the words. What is the word institutionalized? What is the word, what is a mental health center? What is a psychologist as opposed to a counselor? Like all of these, trying to figure out where was there a loophole?
Loophole, yeah. For
I
celebrities.
was trying to find a loophole that I could then present and say, we need a clarification about illegal PCs so that if someone, you know, sends in a petition saying, I've been declared an illegal PC and I want to pay money to get auditing, that there would be a way of responding by passing through the wordage. And this is the similar thing that has happened in other examples. There is a Hubbard flag order that says nobody who has ever taken LSD can join the Sea Organization.
Yeah.
And it only says LSD. It doesn't say any other hallucinogenics. It doesn't say anything else. It's just LSD. Somehow LSD became the boogeyman. And so what would happen is Sea Org recruiters would sit people down and say, describe to me exactly what it was that you took. What did it look like? What happened when you took it? And they would pass through this sort of way of circumventing to say,
Sure.
yeah, obviously that wasn't really LSD. Everybody was passing off that fake LSD back then, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're qualified, sign your billionaire contract. And
Right.
I was looking for that loophole that I could figure out how to make someone somehow be able to circumvent what Hubbard had said, because there is nothing where he went back on any of those statements. Like, there are many things where, like Claire said, Hubbard has written stuff and he will say, well, I don't know that you really need to do OT3 anymore. You can just go straight on to knots. Like, and that's just, you can bypass certain things that I said had to be done now and just move on up to higher levels of operating Thetan and the bridge. And there is writings by L. Ron Hubbard that say just that. And if you wanted to no longer get money from people for having to do OT3, there is a good justification from a Hubbard writing, and it could be put out and nobody would question it. It would just be like, okay, that's great. Yeah, perfect.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything like that about this.
Right.
The subject of psychiatry and psychology and mental health in the world of Hubbard is like as black and white as anything there is. It's just, it's
and by the way, and if somebody did submit a petition to say that they wanted to be, to be an exception to this policy, that had to be approved all the way up to by Religious Technology Center. David Miscavige's organization had to be the one to sign off on that request.
Well, David Miscavige.
Yes.
Yeah. He's
exactly
ultimately the one that makes all the big decisions. So what ended up happening, Claire, on your end, and Jim Carrey?
I didn't. I just did all the research and then sent that to Shelley. I don't actually know what happened, but as far as I know, Scientology's recruitment efforts failed. That's at least, because I was an internal person, I didn't have direct interactions most of the time with celebrities, though there were exceptions to that. But in this case, I just did all this research and then found out Mike was doing the same research at the same time for the same purpose.
Right.
Except I didn't know exactly what it was for. I had no idea about Jim Carrey. I was just like, you need to solve this because there's too many illegal PCs and it's cutting our income.
Yeah.
And so then what happened? Then Jim Carrey then hooks up with this Scientologist girl.
Well, what happened before that, Leah, is that if you recall, there was the great effort to get David Beckham sucked into Scientology.
Yes.
And when he came and joined the LA Galaxy, there was this big bash party thrown by Tom and Will Smith to welcome David Beckham to Los Angeles.
Because despite what they say, Will and Jada were completely in the fold of Scientology.
Yep.
You both are saying yes. Do you have knowledge of that? Because I was the only one really confirming that.
David Miscavige said on many occasions that Will and Jada were in Scientology, that Tom Cruise had gotten them in. And I think at some point, I could be mistaken, but they had founded a school that was 100% using Hubbard study technology.
Oh, no, that's been established, Claire, that they had a school. But David Miscavige told you that Will and Jada were, in fact, Scientologists.
Yes.
Because what Will and Jada had done is they had, even up until recently, when I did her show, she was still kind of denying it, but I wanted to let it go. I was just so upset at the negativity that was coming my way because she had denied it, and she was promoting some project of hers, of course, and she kept denying it. But the line that was being told that, you know, I had done and other celebrities have done is that I use the technology of this particular thing, of study technology of L. Ron Hubbard. And that was the line that they were saying, like, oh, I went to, I went to a Catholic church. Does that make me Catholic? Oh, I went to this church. Yeah, listen, they were Scientologists. Jada was there at Celebrity Center every day. They had personal supervisors. And this is, again, where, you know, I found out, which, you know, started the decline, right? It was like, it wasn't, Shelley was a little bit later because I hadn't known that she was missing.
Right.
But I started to see what they were doing for even friends of mine. I was like, I didn't know that we're allowed to do this not in a Scientology building, but you do this for celebrities. And remember, I was a very per the policy Scientologist.
Right.
I was
you were by the book.
Yeah. And I was like, L. Ron Hubbard says, per this policy, that there are no exceptions to these policies and that no celebrity should be given special treatment. They show up when they're supposed to show up, like the rest of us, 2.5 hours a day minimum. We had to be in a Scientology organization to study Scientology because we had to be supervised studying a book or reading something of Scientology. But I was seeing that there were specialized supervisors who were going to these celebrity homes to allow, and I was like, Then when David Miscavige offered me to do one of the upper levels of Scientology here in California, where it's mandatory that people were going to Clearwater, forced to go to Clearwater every 6 months, as my mother had done for 15 years on the level. And I was like, wait, this is not okay. This is not okay. And Will and Jada were part of that crowd. And you're right. This party was put on again by RTC, David Miscavige, Tom Cruise, Tom Davis, Jessica Fest, whoever was in RTC on behalf of David Miscavige was, we do these public relation things to love bomb the celebrities, right? We find that, maybe they're having trouble in their marriage. And so we offer them Scientology marriage counseling. And then we send Shane Woodruffs of the world out to their home to counsel them. And Tommy
we have, we have Religious Technology Center people in Tom Cruise's house interrogating his staff and making sure that they're doing everything Tom Cruise wants them to do.
Right. So it is. So that was the big thing, right? Was the Beckhams, was to get them in. So Tom, using Tom Cruise to do so. And Tom is happy to do it because he's an honorary, Sea Org member, with his buddy there, David Miscavige. But go ahead.
I was just going to say that was the story of building the soccer pitch at Gold for David Beckham, professional, one single person assigned just to tend the soccer pitch, and it was never used. But
this is news. Wait, hang on a sec. So when Nicole Kidman was married to Tom, or about to be dating Tom, or was dating Tom, weren't you guys ordered to do something at Gold Base using tax exempt money to impress Nicole?
Yes. Yes.
Something.
I mean, that was frequently. Yeah. So this was right before I got there, but I've heard it said many, many times that massive renovations were done. This whole meadow was created with flowers, and the buildings where Tom and Nicole were going to be staying were completely renovated just for that purpose. And this was very, very common. I mean, there's been so many examples of this over the years, with members of the Sea organization working at Tom Cruise's hangar, for example, doing massive upgrades and renovations at no cost to Tom Cruise, but yes, using tax-exempt dollars from Scientology.
And the way that they justify this, the way David Miscavige justifies this, is Tom is representing Scientology. And so these expenses are justified in their mind because if Tom doesn't look good, then Scientology doesn't look good.
That's
Right.
right.
And
And if
Scientology
Tom's
doesn't look
not
good,
happy, he's not
yeah,
going to be out there promoting Scientology as
or
the
recruiting,
greatest
yeah.
disseminator of Scientology in the history of the universe.
Right.
And yeah. Yeah.
So wait, I didn't know this. So then the order came to build a soccer field at Gold Base in
Leah,
Riverside County for Beckham?
there is a professional grade, or it used to be, professional grade soccer field built at Golden Era. It used to be,
For
I mean,
David Beckham.
for David Beckham. It used
I had
to
no
be,
idea.
there was a soccer pitch there for, quote, Sea Org Day. And it was just literally a square piece of old dirt with
No. I'm just
goalposts at
shocked
the
to
end.
hear that they went. So they were so sure. Again, this was all a way to lure the Beckhams in, was to build this professional soccer field for him.
Yep.
At Gold Base,
Yes.
so that he can then
Yes.
stay there and he could become indoctrinated like the Smiths were, like they've attempted with other celebrities. I mean, well, I didn't know that.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And
to be clear, yeah, and members, like normal members of civilian Scientologists, I should say, are not allowed to go to that property. They're not even allowed to know where it's physically located. So this was absolutely 100% an extreme exception just for David Beckham with the intention of luring him in.
Right.
And everybody at Gold, Leah, knew you're not allowed to go mess on that pitch. You know, the normal Sea Org members are not allowed to go kick a ball around on that pitch for fear of scuffing up the turf. It was known that
do you
this
know
was.
if David Beckham ever get to Gold Base? Do you know?
No, he did not. He did
Thank
not.
God.
He and Victoria were smart enough to block off all the efforts.
I would guess. This is just me guessing and speculating that maybe they had gone through a hard time, and Tom used that, as we all did, as an in to say that Scientology can help you with that, and they probably befriended the Beckhams, helped them through a hard time, and then the Beckhams thought, this is amazing. Like, we have, these people are keeping our shit confidential. No one knows us. We're getting in and out of these places, and Tom's, paid for by Scientology's SUV, totally blacked out windows, bulletproof, we can go in and out. We're getting carte blanche. And, people often say, like, well, don't celebrities get treated this way anyway? No. You have to think the way celebrities are treated in Scientology, like Tom Cruise, the Beckhams, the Smiths, you can only liken the way they get treated to the way maybe like a Saudi prince would be treated, or, leaders, the leader of North Korea. Like, if they said, hey, we want this person gone off the planet, it would happen. If Tom said, I want this building gone, it will be knocked down overnight. Like, no permits, no asking the city, nothing. Like, the kind of power that Scientology, well, I shouldn't say Scientology, David Miscavige supports the celebrities with names. I'm not talking about like Jenna Elfmans of the world. I'm talking about like Tom Cruise's. Okay, like that, huge type of celebrity, because Tom is a huge star, right? Can't take that away from him. But that he gives to Tom or the Beckhams or the Smiths or other people, it is like no other treatment in the real world of celebrity. Like no other.
Yep. You're exactly right, Leah. I mean, I've witnessed I don't know how many times the snap of the fingers power that is
like
directed.
Give some examples. People are hearing this for the first time. You have to get out of your guys' head, like what into the world, like, because not everybody know. Like, I don't know some of these stories. So, like, what?
Well, Okay, but I mean, I remember the first time that Tom Cruise came to the Gold Base, and then this was it sort of even predated the nuttiest stuff that happened subsequently. But
Yeah.
there was the entirety of the Sea Org members at Gold lined up on the road for his grand entrance,
Like, oh, so
saluting. Like this was like, you know, the king showed up at Buckingham Palace and all the,
Right.
you know, the Coldstream
Like,
guards
oh,
were out there
saluting.
all saluting.
Saluting.
And this was the welcome to Gold. Here are all the Sea Org members that are at your command.
Your service. Yes.
Yeah.
Your service.
Yes.
These people are all here for you. And if he walked around to do, you know, he wanted to go look at the editing bay, there was like a contingent of people that went beforehand to make sure that everybody smelled good, that there wasn't anybody in there that had a sour look on their face, that nobody was eating food, that like,
and that they all stood up and saluted him and called him Sir, Mr. Cruise. This
Claire, shut the fuck up. Claire?
yes.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Call him Sir.
Yes. In
And
fact,
got up and saluted him.
yeah, there was a member of there was a Sea Org member in Gold who was sent to Australia and put on the Rehabilitation Project Force because he did not do that. Just because he didn't call Tom Cruise Sir and stand up when he walked into the room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
This
For
is
reals.
This
For
is
reals.
insane. This is really fucking insane, guys.
Yeah.
Insanity. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not just Tom Cruise. I was going to tell you about the trip that Will and Jada made to South Africa. Oh my God. Rena Weinberg, who was the head of the Association for Better Living and Education.
The front groups,
front group.
basically. She was in
front
charge of the
group.
front groups. Yeah.
Was sent to as sort of the advanced person because Will and Jada were going to go to South Africa and visit the quote applied scholastics activities down there, and while there also visit the orgs. And
So they were on a Scientology tour.
Exactly.
The non-Scientologists, the people who just dabbled in this, dabbled in Buddhism, they were on a private jet with a Scientology official just to visit Scientology facilities.
Yes, but more than that, Christy was there at the time, and she was sort of responsible for helping to put together this whole tour. And it included like a wild animal safari at a facility owned by two prominent Scientologists in South Africa who closed it down for Will and Jada to come and visit the wild animal sanctuary place, and all the restaurants that were set up with, you know, special, we're closing down the restaurant, we're going to bring these people in, and the preparations at the Joburg org for what would happen when Will and Jada came through the org, and what they were supposed to be seeing and what they were supposed to be briefed on. And
what were they supposed to be seeing? Like what was
like
the
how flourishing and prospering Scientology was in South
everybody
Africa.
Had to act, and everybody had to be like so like Tom Cruise type happy, jumping on a couch.
Yes, and like Mike said, if there were any sourpuss people, they would be removed. No, seriously. Like if there
hang on a second, I want to clarify this because nobody wants to see, you know, a face, a scorn. You know what I mean?
You're right. You're right. And that's so I should elaborate.
This, okay. You know, what David Miscavige wanted from these people is psychotic. This is what he wanted.
Yep. Yes.
Exactly.
And if
Exactly.
you weren't doing that, if you were just like, hi, nice to meet you, that would be
That's right.
sourpuss.
That's
Yeah,
right.
just
Right.
listening or being a normal person and just listening would be considered you're going to be put onto the decks, basically.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or
And
shipped off
not
to
to be
the
seen in
country.
public, not to
Right.
be, yeah, exactly.
So these people just had to be in that tone, this crazy exhilaration
The
tone.
fanatical, glaring eyes, like
Everything's great.
everything is amazing. This
Yeah.
is for you. You're going to join us, and this is
Yeah.
going to be the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yes.
And of
Wow.
course, you had to round people up to make it appear like there were a lot of people there.
Right.
So what did you
this
do?
is the
How did you guys go
typical-
about doing that?
Oh, this happened with the media. This happened with celebrities. Every time anybody was going to tour any organization, oh my God, there was a massive effort for a week, maybe beforehand.
Mhm.
You need to come in on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Whether you're signed up for a course or not, you need to come and sit in the course room because
so like
we are
civilian
doing.
Scientologists were called in?
Oh, absolutely.
So they
would be
essentially
told.
worked as atmosphere, as extras, basically.
That's right.
Yes,
Exactly.
as extras. And they
Yeah.
would be told the reason for this is because the media are coming through or a celebrity is going to be doing a tour or whatever. And we want to present a good face and have the world see how great everything is going inside the org. And
Mhm.
I remember going absolutely nuts trying to find enough people to fill up the ASHO course rooms. The American St. Hill organization had these huge course rooms for a course that used to exist in Scientology called the St. Hill Special Briefing Course, which David Miscavige canceled. And that was a course that consists of 435 lectures by L. Ron Hubbard that you have to sit and listen to. And there are these huge course rooms in that particular building in Los Angeles that are rows and rows and rows of tape decks for people to listen. I had to figure out how to fill up all these seats with people pretending to listen to tapes so that when Forrest Sawyer or whoever it was
walked
came for
through.
a walk through to look at what was going on in Scientology, they would see, oh, look at all these people. It's incredible how many people there are in Scientology, all engaged and active and enjoying themselves. And
Pretending
they were
to
all
listen
fake.
to tape. Mike, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So when you're doing this ruse, right? You're creating this,
Yeah.
theatrics, for the purpose of basically, lying to people about what's really happening there. Was there ever a piece of you that was like, why aren't there people here? Why aren't our churches that are costing 5 million, 10 million, 20 million to rent? Why are our buildings empty?
Well,
Did you ever
yes,
ask yourself that? Yeah.
yes, Leah, but there is always a perfect answer to those questions. It's the SPs. It's the unhandled why of ASHO because the briefing course is out tech and it needs to be
basically
corrected.
cognitive dissonance.
Exactly. Exactly.
Completely.
And they are those answers are so grooved in and so agreed upon, acceptable that you just instantly go, oh yeah, well, I know why. The place would be full if it weren't
If it wasn't for those people going to the police or speaking out against Scientology or the IRS or Time Magazine or which is what they're doing now, right? Like, because if they were empty then, Mike and Claire, they're even more emptier. If there's that.
Completely.
Today.
It is
Absolutely.
crazy today, Leah, how empty Scientology buildings are. Like,
and that was happening when I was, after the basics, after we were, told to, read by books that we had already purchased because there was a mistake. After that, there was nobody. It was like sometimes I was in the courtroom by myself.
Right. I
Yeah.
know.
And, you're right. That was the answer. Like, oh, the suppressives, we're handling it. There's a lot of people here at night or, you know what I mean? Like, it was always like an answer
Yep.
for it. And, unless you were ready to just up and leave and destroy your whole life that day, you were staying in.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Any other tidbits like this that you two have been holding on to for the last 10 years that you want to tell us about?
Probably
Oh my
millions of
gosh.
them, Leah.
We should make a list. I mean, there's obviously the ones too, the fancy birthday parties that were put on for Tom Cruise at the Free Winds, where an entire seafood restaurant was airlifted from Santa Monica to the Free Winds just because that was Tom Cruise's favorite restaurant.
That's right. Valerie
Yeah.
did tell me that. I
Nobu.
forgot. Nobu, which is a fortune.
Yep.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
listen, when people ask, like, why wasn't his daughter more important than this, fake religion? Part of it is this, right? Because there was a time from somebody who was a former Scientologist who knew him very well, worked side by side with him for many, many years, said that he was at one point very insecure, unsure of himself, his acting ability, which, by the way, you're not going to find a lot of actors who are secure about their choices. And, you kind of need that, insecurity and the questioning, right? Because that's how you get to, answer questions about your performance and your character and the script. You need a good, like a handful of that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then something changed right about the time when they forced Nicole Kidman out of his life. They said that he had changed almost overnight.
Yep. And that was intentionally constructed by David Miscavige, who was personally overseeing that conversion of Tom Cruise into a fanatical replica of himself.
Right. Because he was responsible, David Miscavige, through Marty Rathbun and the other asshole,
Greg Wilhair.
Wilhair, McShane. I don't remember who was involved, but I remember I was told the story by somebody who was there that they had made this happen, this breakup happen. They had the Scientology.
Nicole was always sort of a problem because, as you know, her father is a psychologist,
Right?
and she was
Well,
not a jump up
she
and
was-
down.
Because she had real science-based information from growing up with her father about the field of mental health. And so, which is why, we're told, just like kind of the Jehovah's Witnesses, that there's really no need for an education, because that's the way
Right.
cults work. Because when you're educated, it is very hard to make sense of Scientology if you have a real education, especially in the field of mental health.
Right.
Yeah.
And plus, she is very Australian.
Mhm.
And unlike I don't know, a lot of people, the jumping up and down, yoo-hoo, woohoo, enthusiasm that Tom would have for every time he got an auditing session or discovered a new writing by L. Ron Hubbard, it would be like, oh my God, this is the most incredible thing. Oh my God, this is saving my life. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. Nicole was always much more reserved and much more Australian. I don't know how to describe it, Leah.
And also,
there is this
not susceptible as we all were, as Tom was and still is.
Right.
And apparently, choosing this quack, religion, what I mean? Like it's the pseudo religion, right? Over your own daughter certainly would speak to that it's gotten
Right.
worse. And
Yeah.
Right.
it's a and there's a piece of me that is compassionate towards it because I was there and I understand how susceptible he is. However, he has used and abused the power that's given to him through David Miscavige, not just with his own family. I mean, look, Katie was smart enough to get out. Penelope Cruz was smart enough to get out. And I'm scared for the next victim that comes along.
Totally.
Naz, Nazanin, like there's a lot of victims in his wake there
Yeah.
too.
Right.
You reminded me, by the way, talking about Nicole, that yes, Marty Rathbun absolutely carefully crafted that breakup, so much so that I don't know who he was using, but I know that he had somebody following Nicole, as a result of which they got information that they used to say, hey, Tom, she's cheating on you or whatever. She's involved in X, Y, and Z. And that was, so the information Scientology was,
you're just saying as an example, you don't know that's
no, absolutely. But she was fair gamed as part of that breakup for sure. No question about it. With the information that they were illegally gathering about her, they were feeding to Tom Cruise.
Right. And again, remember, we've talked about this before. In Scientology auditing, you can say, I cheated on my wife, or I cheated, and this was something that was coerced out of you from another lifetime. Like, so I'm saying,
Right.
like, in my Scientology folders, you will see I cheated. But the rest of the sentences, as a man, in 500 BC or whatever the fuck they pulled out of me. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you have these kind of transgressions that they then give to people to discredit you or to, something like this, to break up a marriage. And it's not even the truth.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. And meanwhile, they present to the world in general that they support relationships and they help people and this and that and the other thing.
Nobody is under the misconception that Scientology is a real religion, except, well, not even the IRS. They just pussied out of doing anything about it.
That's right.
Even though they're flaunting their misappropriation of funds and their tax exemption all over, the fucking planet here, and have been. But nobody's under the impression that Scientology is a decent organization. Like, the people before us that didn't have a community of support did the work. People who have left and spoken out without support with it, they did the work. Time Magazine, Going Clear, us, our show, people doing podcasts and, having YouTube channel. Like, people are doing the work. They're like you said, Mike, there's no new celebrity that's getting into Scientology. And if they are, they have some serious issues if they're running to Scientology this day and age. Seriously, and they need real help.
I don't think there is an agent in Hollywood that would allow their person to get involved overtly in Scientology at this point. I just imagine
there's some power agents, particularly maybe, Tom's agency that maybe doesn't give a shit, but their clients certainly who are big stars would give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It just isn't going to happen. The days of being able to recruit new celebrities into Scientology is over.
The internet really did damage. And for L. Ron Hubbard, who claimed to see the future, didn't foresee the internet for some reason. And that information, listen, getting people to go on the internet, who are current Scientologists, that's a different battle. But once they do, it takes 10 minutes to deprogram them. It's the fastest deprogramming of any cult in history. Because just looking on the internet is a step in the right direction, right? Just, watching a video, watching the aftermath, watching Going Clear, watching, your guys, YouTube channel. This is a huge step for somebody who's still in, So
Very much so.
if you are watching this, you're not, you're thinking about leaving, hey, you took a first step. That's amazing.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now take the second step at a run.
Yes, exactly. We are here to help.
Yes.
For real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Go to the aftermathfoundation.com.
Yes.
Is that right?
.org.
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 Oh,
The
shit.
aftermathfoundation.org. Yes,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
We have
Yes.
many, many programs to help with this process.
We sure do. All right. Well, you guys, it's so good to see you. Are we done or what?
Yes, we are. We're
okay.
like an hour and 5 minutes. It's perfect.
Oh, all right.
end
All right.
time.
Perfect
I love
timing.
you guys.
I love
Love
you
you.
too.
Guys for listening. I hope this was somewhat interesting, and we'll see you soon.
Yes.
Yes, we will. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.